The call came and by the time I heard my sister's broken whisper, I already knew something was terribly wrong. She fell down the stairs. Her husband said when I reached the hospital, his voice too calm, too rehearsed. My twin, my other half, lay in that bed with a bruised face, a split lip, and eyes that refused to meet mine. We've shared everything since birth, secrets, laughter, even silence. But that night, her silence was different. Heavy. Terrified. I didn't ask questions in front of him. I just held her hand and felt it trembling. When he stepped out to take a call, she finally looked at me. Her lips barely moved. It wasn't the stairs. That was all she said. That was all I needed. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I didn't confront him in that hallway like some dramatic scene from a movie. Because I knew something he didn't. Anger burns fast, but patience wins clean. So I nodded, kissed her forehead, and told her I'd handle it. The next morning I didn't go back to the hospital. I went to his house. He wasn't expecting me. Of course not. Why would he? To him I was just the quiet sister, the softer one. The one who smiled politely at family dinners and never made a scene. He opened the door, confused. "Oh, you're here?" I smiled. Calm. Friendly. She asked me to pick up some of her things. He hesitated for a second, then stepped aside. That was his first mistake. I walked in like I belonged there. Because in a way, I did. Everything in that house had a piece of her clothes, her books, her life, and I wasn't there just to collect it. I was there to take it back. "Where's her phone?" I asked casually. He pointed toward the bedroom. "Probably on the nightstand." I nodded and walked in. The room felt wrong. Cold. Tense, like it had been holding secrets for too long. I picked up her phone, unlocked it, of course I knew her password, and started scrolling. Messages, missed calls. And then I saw it. A string of messages she had never sent. Typed then deleted. Typed again, then erased. Words like, "I'm scared," "He gets angry," "I don't know what to do." My chest tightened, but my face stayed still. I walked back out, phone in hand. "I'll take some clothes too," I said. He shrugged. "Take whatever." Second mistake. While he sat in the living room pretending everything was normal, I moved through that house like a ghost, quiet, careful, observing everything. The broken picture frame behind the dresser. The dent in the bedroom door. The way his tone shifted when he thought I couldn't hear. I wasn't just collecting evidence. I was building a story. And I knew exactly how it would end. Before leaving, I paused at the door and turned to him. "She's not coming back here," I said softly. He let out a small laugh. "It was an accident." "Don't make it bigger than it is." I smiled again. "Oh, I won't." Third mistake, as I didn't make it bigger. I made it precise. Over the next few days, I didn't post anything online. I didn't call him. I didn't warn him, I just worked quietly. Hospital reports, photographs, copies of messages, statements from neighbors who had heard things, but never spoke up. And then I invited him. A simple message. "Come to my place. We need to talk about her." He showed up, confident as ever. Maybe he thought he could charm his way out. Maybe he thought I was weak. He sat down, relaxed, even smiled. "How is she?" I slid a folder across the table. "Open it." He did. I watched his face change as he flipped through the pages. The calm disappeared first. Then the arrogance. Then, finally, the fear. He muttered, "This?" I said quietly, "Is everything." He looked up at me. "You're overreacting." I leaned forward, meeting his eyes. "No." I waited. Silence filled the room. I waited until I had proof. I waited until she was safe. I waited until you thought you got away with it. His jaw tightened. "What do you want?" I didn't raise my voice. I didn't threaten him. "I want you to disappear from her life," I said. Completely. No calls. No messages. No showing up. And if I don't. I tapped the folder lightly. "Then everyone sees this. Your job, your family. The people who think you're such a good man." He stared at me, trying to find a crack in my expression. There wasn't one. Because this wasn't about anger anymore. This was control. After a long moment, he exhaled. "You're serious." I stood up, dead serious. He left without another word. And just like that it was over. No shouting. No violence. No chaos. Just silence. The kind that finally felt safe. A week later, my sister came to stay with me. She was still healing, physically, emotionally. But for the first time in a long time, she slept without fear. One night she looked at me and whispered, "What did you do?" I smiled softly. "Nothing loud," I said, "just enough." Because sometimes, revenge isn't about breaking someone. It's about making sure they never get the chance to break you. I knew he'd try to come back. I just didn't expect how quickly he'd forget who he was dealing with. It started with a message, not to me. To her. I miss you. We need to talk. She showed me the screen, her fingers shaking again like they did in that hospital bed. For a second, I saw that same fear creep back into her eyes, and that was enough to remind me this wasn't over. Not yet. Don't reply, I told her gently. But what if he won't? I said, calm and certain. Not this time, because this time I was ready. I took her phone, blocked his number, then unblocked it again. She frowned. Why? I looked at her steady. Because I want him to try. That night, I didn't sleep much. Not because I was worried, but because I was thinking 3 steps ahead. He had already shown me who he was. Controlled, careful when watched, reckless when not. Men like him don't stop. They test. And I was waiting for him to test the wrong door. 2 days later, he did. He showed up outside my house. I saw him from the window, standing there, pretending to look calm, but shifting his weight like he didn't belong. Good. He didn't. Stay inside. I told my sister. She nodded, but I could feel her heartbeat in the silence. I opened the door slowly. He tried to smile. I just want to talk. No, I said simply. He blinked, caught off guard. You can't just keep her from me. I stepped outside, closing the door behind me. I'm not keeping her, I replied. She's choosing to stay away. His jaw tightened. You're filling her head with lies. I almost laughed, but I didn't. Do you really think she needs my help to remember what you did? That hit him. For a second, the mask slipped again. Just a second, but I saw it. The anger, the frustration, the need to control something he no longer could. She's my wife? He snapped quietly. And she's not your victim anymore? I said just as quietly. Neighbor's curtains moved slightly. Eyes watching, he noticed too. Good. He lowered his voice. This isn't over. I leaned closer, not aggressive, not loud, just enough for him to hear me clearly. You're right, I said. It's not. Then I pulled out my phone and pressed play. His voice filled the air, clear, sharp, angry. A recording from the last time he came to my place. Every word he thought no one would use against him. His face drained instantly. You recorded me, he whispered. I tilted my head slightly. You really thought I wouldn't. That was the moment he understood. This wasn't a fight he could win. Not because I was stronger, but because I was patient, careful, precise. I stepped back and looked at him one last time. If you come near her again, I said calmly, this goes further than a conversation. I didn't need to explain. He already knew. Work, reputation, consequences. All the things he thought he could protect were now out of his control. For a few seconds, he just stood there. Then, without another word, he turned and walked away. Not fast, not dramatic, just defeated. And this time I knew he wouldn't come back. Because now it wasn't just about fear. It was about exposure. After that day, the messages stopped. The calls stopped. The tension slowly, quietly faded. My sister started laughing again, small at first, like she was relearning something she had forgotten. She began cooking, reading, sitting by the window without flinching at every sound. Healing doesn't happen loudly. It happens in moments like that. One evening, we sat together on the balcony, watching the sky turn soft and golden. She looked at me and asked, "Weren't you scared?" I thought about it for a second. Then I shook my head. "No," I said. "Why not?" I glanced at her, then back at the fading light. "Because I wasn't reacting," I replied. "I was waiting." She stayed quiet, letting that sink in. And then she smiled. A real one. The kind I hadn't seen in a long time. That's when I realized something important. I didn't destroy him. I didn't ruin his life. I didn't need to. I just took away his power. And sometimes, that's the most permanent revenge of thought it was over. Until the letter arrived with no return address. It was slipped under my door sometime in the night. No knock. No sound. Just there. My name written in his handwriting. I didn't open it right away. I just stared at it, feeling that old, familiar tension crawl back into the room. Not fear. No, not anymore. But awareness. The kind that sharpens everything. My sister noticed immediately. "What is it?" I picked it up slowly. "Him." Her face changed. Not panic this time, but something close to anger. "Open it," she said. So I did. Inside was a single page, no apology. No excuses. Just one line. "You think you won." I read it twice. Then I smiled. Because that was his final mistake. He still thought this was a game. Still thought there was something left to win. I folded the paper neatly and set it on the table. "He's desperate now," I said calmly. My sister crossed her arms. "What does that mean?" "It means," I replied, "who's about to lose for real." That same morning, I made one call. Not to him, Not to the police. To someone he respected more than anyone. His older brother. I had done my homework weeks ago, quietly, carefully. While he thought everything was settling down, I was learning who actually mattered in his world. Who he listened to. Who he feared disappointing. Family. Reputation. Image. I introduced myself simply and asked to meet. No details over the phone, he agreed. When we sat down later that day, I didn't waste time. I placed the same folder on the table. The reports, the photos, the messages, and finally, the recording. I didn't speak while he went through it. I just watched. At first confusion. Then disbelief. Then something heavier, something colder. Disappointment. What does he think he's doing? His brother muttered, more to himself than to me. I finally spoke. I think he thought no one would ever see it. Silence stretched between us. Then he looked up at me, eyes sharp. Why are you showing me this instead of going public? I held his gaze. Because I don't want noise. I want an ending. He leaned back slightly, studying me. You're protecting her? He said. Yes. And you're giving him one last chance. I shook my head gently. No, I'm giving you one? That landed exactly the way I intended. Because this wasn't about mercy anymore. It was about control at the right level. His brother closed the folder slowly, his jaw tight. I'll handle it, he said. I stood up. Make sure you do. And just like that I walked away. No threats. No drama. Just a door quietly closing on his entire illusion. That evening, my sister kept glancing at her phone. Waiting. Not nervously, just expecting something. Around 9 p.m., it finally happened. A message. From him. She looked at me before opening it. I nodded. Her eyes scanned the screen. Then she exhaled long and steady. What did he say? I asked. She turned the phone toward me. I'm leaving. You'll never hear from me again. No emotion. No manipulation. No attempt to pull her back. Just gone. For a moment neither of us spoke. The silence felt different this time. Not heavy, not tense. Final. A few days later, we heard through someone else that he had moved out of the city. No goodbyes. No explanations. Just disappeared from the life he once controlled so tightly. And that was it. No courtroom. No public scandal. No loud victory. Just a quiet, irreversible ending. That night, my sister and I sat together again. Same balcony. Same soft sky. But everything felt lighter. She leaned her head on my shoulder. Something she hadn't done since we were kids. You didn't just protect me, she said softly. You gave me my life back. I didn't say anything right away. Because the truth was I hadn't done anything extraordinary. I just refused to rush. Refused to react. Refused to let him decide how the story would end. After a while, I finally spoke. He thought hurting you was power, I said quietly. She lifted her head, listening. I just showed him what real power looks like. She smiled, stronger this time. And as the night settled around us, I realized something that made it all worth it. He didn't lose because I fought him. He lost because I understood him. And once you understand someone like that, you don't need to break them. You just take away every place they can hide, and leave them with nothing but the truth they tried to. I thought silence would be the end of it, but silence, I learned, is also where the truth gets louder. A month passed. Then 2. No messages, no letters, no shadows outside the house. My sister started going out alone again, first to the corner store, then for walks, then slowly back into a life that once felt impossible. Everything was calm, but something about it didn't sit right with me. Not fear, just instinct. Because people like him don't disappear, they relocate. And one afternoon, that instinct proved me right. I got a call from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but I did. A pause. Then a familiar voice, but not his. His coworker. I don't know if I should be calling you, the man said nervously. But I think you should know something. I stepped outside, closing the door behind me. Say it. He's been telling people a different story. Of course he had. I leaned against the wall, calm as ever. What kind of story? That she was unstable. That she hurt herself. That you manipulated everything. I closed my eyes for a second, not out of anger, but clarity. There it was, the last move. Not control. Not confrontation. Reputation. He couldn't reach her anymore, so he tried to rewrite her. And for the first time since this all began, I felt something sharp rise in my chest. Not rage. Resolve. Thank you, I said quietly, and hung up. When I went back inside, my sister was laughing at something on her phone. That sound stopped me for a second, because that was what he was trying to take back. Not her. Her peace. And I wasn't going to let that happen. Not after everything. That night, I didn't warn her. I didn't explain. I just opened my laptop and began. This time, I wasn't collecting evidence. I was releasing it. Carefully. Strategically. Not everywhere. Just where it mattered. A quiet email to his workplace's HR department. Anonymous but precise. Another to someone who managed internal conduct. Then, one final step. The recording. Not posted publicly, not turned into drama. Just sent to the right ears. And then I closed the laptop. No celebration. No announcement. Just the same calm breath I had taken since the beginning. The next few days were quiet again. But a different kind of quiet. The kind where something is shifting, just out of sight. Then it happened. I got another call. Same number. Same coworker. This time, his voice wasn't nervous. It was stunned. I didn't react. Gone how? Fired, he said. Effective immediately. No explanation to anyone, but people are talking. I looked out the window, watching the street like it was any other day. What are they saying? That everything he told us wasn't true. A small pause. And that someone made sure the truth showed up. I thanked him and ended the call. When I turned around, my sister was standing there. She had heard enough. Her eyes searched mine. Was that about him? I nodded once. And I walked over, placing a hand gently on her shoulder. It's finished. She studied my face, trying to read what I wasn't saying. Then, slowly, she smiled. Not the soft, healing smile from before. This one was different, stronger, certain, like she finally believed it. And maybe for the first time, so did I. We didn't talk about him after that. Not because we were avoiding it, but because there was nothing left to say. He had lost access, lost control, lost the version of the story he tried to create. And in the end, that's what mattered most. Weeks later, I found that letter again, the one he slipped under my door. You think you won. I held it for a moment, then tore it in half. Not out of anger, but closure. Because this was never about winning. It was about ending something that should have never started. I walked to the window, letting the pieces fall into the trash behind me. Outside, the world moved like nothing had ever happened. Cars passing, people talking. Life continuing. And inside, there was no tension, no fear, no unfinished business, just peace. Real, steady peace. The kind you don't have to protect anymore. And that's when it truly hit me. I didn't just take him out of her life. I erased the version of him that thought he could ever come back. Completely. Quietly. Few days later, something unexpected happened. We stopped checking. No more glancing at unknown numbers. No more wondering who might be at the door. No more replaying old memories to make sense of them. It just faded. One evening, my sister stood in front of the mirror, getting ready to go out, really go out, not just step outside. She wore a dress she hadn't touched in months. "Does this look okay?" she asked. I leaned against the doorframe and smiled. "You look like yourself again." She paused, taking that in. Then she nodded. When she left that night, I didn't feel the need to watch from the window. I just closed the door and trusted the quiet. Later, she came back laughing, actual, effortless laughter, and dropped her keys on the table like nothing in the world was waiting to take that away from her. And in that moment, I understood something clearly. Revenge isn't loud. It doesn't need witnesses. It doesn't need applause. The real kind is when life becomes normal again. When the fear doesn't follow you into the next room. When the silence feels safe instead of heavy. I turned off the lights and headed to bed, the house calm around me. No shadows. No tension. No him. Just us. And for the first time since that Tune 13 a.m. call, everything was exactly how it should have been, all past. And his name stopped meaning anything. Not pain. Not anger. Not even a story worth telling. Just nothing. One afternoon, we were cleaning out old boxes, things she had brought from that house but never opened. Clothes, books, small pieces of a life that didn't belong to her anymore. At the bottom of one box, she found a photo. The two of them. Smiling. Perfect, on the surface. She stared at it for a long moment. I watched her carefully, wondering if this was the part where something old might come back. Doubt. Confusion. That quiet pull of what if. Instead, she exhaled, calm and steady. "That feels like someone else's life," she said. Not sad. Not bitter. Just distant. She handed me the photo. "Throw it away." I didn't ask twice. As it slipped into the trash, it didn't feel dramatic. It felt final. We kept sorting through the box, lighter with every piece we let go. A sweater she used to love, gone. A book he gave her, gone. A small framed quote about forever. She laughed at that one before tossing it herself. And then the box was empty. No memories left to unpack. No weight left to carry. That evening, we sat together again, Same balcony, same quiet sky, but this time we weren't looking back at we're just there. Present. Free. You know? She said after a while. Really thought he could break me. I glanced at her. He didn't understand who you are. She smiled slightly. No, he didn't understand who we are. And that was the truth. Because he never saw the full picture. He saw her kindness and thought it was weakness. He saw my silence and thought it was nothing. He never realized that silence can watch, can learn, can wait. And when it finally moves, it doesn't miss. I leaned back, letting the cool air settle around us. There was no part of me waiting for another message. No instinct telling me to stay alert. That chapter wasn't open anymore. It was gone. Completely. Not because time passed, but because we closed it. Carefully. Intentionally. Together. And as the night stretched on, quiet and undisturbed, I realized something that made everything feel even clearer. He wasn't part of our story anymore. Not even as a memory. Just a mistake. That never